Good afternoon, everybody. It is Friday, the 4th of September. It's 12:30, which means it must be the people-to-people employment and recruitment market update. My name's Mark Smith. I am the Group Managing Director of People-to-People in Australia and Frog Recruitment in New Zealand. Well, it's the 4th of September, which means it is the first week of spring. Can you believe that? What happened to this year? We're just rolling through it. And I think today, it started off to be a really pleasant day here in Sydney, but it's actually going to be, there's a storm that's rolling in this afternoon, one of those famous Sydney spring storms, I suppose. So, and for those who do watch this broadcast, people would know that I'm obsessed with the weather. And Jaden, we've got a couple of pictures from spring storms in Sydney in previous years. That one there is Coogee in 2015, I think it is. I mean, that's a pretty sensational picture. And we got another one, I think, from 18 in Bondi. Yeah, there we go. I think that's probably more like what today's going to be like here in Sydney as well. So storm rolling through. It's quite dark outside at the moment. Let's see what happens. But that's not why we're here today. We're actually here to talk about the employment and jobs market here in Australia and New Zealand. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you an overview just generally of what's happening in the marketplace at the moment. We have our regular numbers section, which I'll be focusing on GDP growth because the numbers were released quite shockingly earlier this week. We'll have a market update and from Liz McEwen in Perth office, and I know she's got a job she wants to talk to us about as well. We have Jess Hickey from our Melbourne team, who's also got another fabulous opportunity she'd like to talk to us about. And Bianca Luck, our Director and Manager of our Contract and Temporary Services, has actually hijacked today our job hunting tip, because what she's going to do is to tell us the winners of the August temp of the month. So we'll stay tuned for that one as well towards the end of the broadcast. So if you have any questions, then please pop them in the chat. We can see them live, so we'll be able to respond to you immediately. They're both on YouTube and Facebook. If you just pop those comments in there, then we'll be able to see them up on the screen, and hopefully we'll answer your questions straight away. So let's get into it. Let's start with my market update. So, well, it's a very flat at the moment in terms of the number of vacancies listed with people-to-people over the last week or so. If I would say anything, it's been very consistent over the last 3 or 4 weeks, slightly off a little bit this week, although it does fluctuate, particularly with the temporary vacancies every single day. And we are seeing a little bit more on the temporary side. It's almost like the resilience in the permanent market that we saw at the beginning of the COVID crisis and like in June, I suppose, is starting to fade a little bit. So the permanent market is not as buoyant as it was earlier during the crisis. But we are seeing some sectors holding up. So, for example, legal in Sydney is definitely holding up. Technology positions throughout the country seem to be holding up as well. And on the temp side, although it's still very slow, it is better than permanent. And we're seeing some work in supply chain and logistics, and that's in all states actually. It's not just here in New South Wales. And some movement in credit control, which doesn't really surprise me given the market that we've got out there, and that cash flow is so important and that companies are looking to improve their cash position. We've seen that particularly in Queensland with a number of credit vacancies, temporary credit vacancies being listed with us. So yes, so overall quite a flat marketplace at the moment. So let's now move on to our numbers section, our regular numbers section. And what we're going to be focusing on today with the numbers is the GDP numbers, which came out, I think it was on Wednesday at lunchtime, and they were pretty shocking. And there's been a lot of media about it. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the overall numbers. I just wanted to give you a few comparisons. So let's just start with a longer term picture of what the historical nature of the GDP. And you can see here these are the annual change in real GDP percentage in the long run. So what we can see at the end of the year there is the 6.7%, 7.3 per the quarter. Depends on, it's actually the 6.7 for the annual value for 2020 there. and you can see how it compares to the annual rate of GDP change throughout since Federation, basically at the beginning. You can see that there's only been a couple of times where it has been worse. Obviously, the 2 years of the Great Depression, that's 30 and 31, and you can see that 1 year, I think it was about 1908, was a pretty terrible year as well. But certainly in my living memory, there hasn't been a situation where we've suffered this level of decline in GDP. The expectations are, so we've had 2 quarters now, minus 0.3 and now minus 7, I think it is. Now we're looking into the second half. Are we going to get another quarter of negative growth? Probably. So that will extend that last line at the far right-hand side of that graph. But how is this made up? And I thought I would share this with you. This is the GDP contribution. If we can move to the next slide, Jaden, which I think is interesting to see how the spend or the GDP is actually made up in the movements there. So the very top one is government consumption. You can see that that's in the positive, and the other positive number is imports down the bottom, and then we have all the negative numbers. So private capital formation, change in inventories, our exports, and the overall GDP number at the bottom. So the interesting thing there that I just wanted to point out is that private capital formation, private consumption is down, household consumption by a staggering over 6%. But where there is on the positive side is in terms of imports and from general government consumption as well. So now let's move to the next one, which was a state-by-state comparison, which I thought, again, is relevant because of the audience on this broadcast. And you can see the overall Q1, Q2 GDP numbers, and then the first half number. So and the relative declines. So the numbers that we've been looking at most recently has been obviously the Q2 GDP at 7% overall for Australia. And the worst hit states are New South Wales down 8.6, Victoria down 8.5, then Queensland, South Australia, Western Australia, and Victoria, then Tasmania, then Queensland, Western Australia, and South Australia is doing best. So essentially, despite the more recent news, and remember this data is from the end of June, it is New South Wales that has felt the brunt up until June. And I expect that we will see Victoria with the lockdowns take that mantle in the next run. But down at 9.9%, the last time that New South Wales at that sort of level was 10% during the Depression. So some pretty substantial numbers there. So not very uplifting, to be honest, as well. So that's something that's slightly uplifting, which is the international comparison. So now let's, Jaden, if we could move to the international comparison, and you can see that where Australia falls versus some of our other trading partners and OECD members as well. So South Korea, Finland, and Hong Kong doing better than us. Yet you can see that the US and the UK, which often gets media in Australia, are doing substantially worse. And the quarterly change in India is a remarkable number, something that is quite profound, approaching 30% decline in GDP for the June quarter. So we're not doing too bad. And no, it doesn't feel like that way if you're looking for a job right now. And certainly the historical comparisons for Australia that we are in one of the worst downturns. But when we look overseas, we're actually doing quite okay. Rightio, so that's it for our numbers. Now let's move on and find out what's happening on a more local level here in Australia. And today we're going to get a market spotlight, and I know she's going to take a job opportunity here with Liz McEwen from our Perth team.
Hi Mark, how you going?
G'day Liz. Now this is your first time on Facebook Live, isn't it?
It is.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, I know that you want to hijack this particular, because we're talking about a market, but we're going to talk about a job. I know that, but I'll just ask you one question, and that is, so how is the market in Perth right now?
Yeah, so not a lot has changed for the past few weeks. So temp and contract is continuing to stay busy. We're finding permanent roles are starting to pick up again, which is great. However, still a little bit slow on that side of things. Areas that still have been busy are legal support, property, admin and reception covers as well have been quite steady. So that's been great.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, I find that most interesting thing about that is property, because it's been the biggest surprise, I think, through this downturn, is that even just in terms of the residential real estate market in places like Sydney, Melbourne, I know that prices are dropping, but the clearance rates are quite high. So it's property has really been a surprise out of this downturn, and I think you've got a job in property that you want to talk about. Is that right?
I do. So I'm currently recruiting for a senior property manager role to join a well-established real estate agency in the northern suburbs here in Perth. Now, this agency has one goal, and that's just to provide exceptional customer service to all of their clients. So now this particular role is working as part of a wider team of property managers, where there'll be lots of support and also give you the opportunity to have that autonomy as well in the role, but also receive the support from other departments. Now they are looking for someone with experience as a property manager. This is essential, and also having that property management registration and CVP points. Now this particular organisation offers great benefits. So industry events, staff functions, Christmas parties, team dinners and award nights as well. And the particular salary packaging for the right candidate is 65K plus super, plus phone and car allowance as well.
Fabulous, fantastic. Now, I've just seen that Jaden has popped up the link to the particular jobs there in the comments. So if anybody is interested in that role, they can certainly click on that, get more detail, and get in touch with you. Now, I missed the location again. Can you just share that with me again?
It's in the northern suburbs.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. All right. Okay. Radio. Well, thanks, Liz. Thanks very much for that. Now, before you go, if somebody's wants to call you now about it, how should they get in touch with you?
Yeah, call me directly. So 086160 6203. Yeah, I'd love to talk more about the role.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for that, Liz. All the way from our WA office. I know that it's not raining over in WA, but it's going to rain here. So now let's move on to our next section, which is another opportunity of the week. And this time we're going to move to Melbourne, and we're going to talk to Jess Hickey from our Melbourne team. And you've got a couple of, is it more than one role, Jess, or is it? It is more than one, isn't it?
Yeah, more than one. Super exciting. So we're on the lookout for some standout outbound sales consultants. So working with an industry-leading pest control and waste management company in the setup of their brand new regional offices in the northwest. So you'll be based in Sunshine West, so just north of the city. And these roles are a really good opportunity for you to kickstart your sales career, especially with a household established brand who have been deemed essential in times like this. So that's always a tick. We have several vacancies with them, but primarily within the outbound sales space. So you'll be working with warm to hot leads, including repeat customers. Day to day, you'll be responsible for the management of the customer base and ensuring that the technicians are booked in to service the pest control systems to extend the warranty of the product. So this product is pre-installed within the house and is pre-installed when the house is built. So the sales is primarily around maintenance servicing. So we're looking for someone with 1 to 2 years in the outbound sales space in a contact center environment, and you'll be motivated by targets and KPIs and keen to hit the ground running, really. We're offering up to 50K plus super plus an uncapped commission structure, which is always nice to know, and that's paid monthly.
Fabulous. All right, that sounds so how many positions do we have there? Is it multiple?
Two. Yeah.
Fabulous. Yeah. Fantastic. All right. And so if somebody is interested, I can see once again Jaden doing his job. This is right around, isn't he? Certainly, he's put the link to the opportunity there. So if anybody wants to apply directly there. But while I've got you too, and I know I'm sort of putting you on the spot here, though, that I can see that you're obviously still in lockdown at home. How are you and all of the rest of the Melbourne team coping with the lockdown right now?
We're doing pretty well. All of our house plants are getting a lot of attention, and our pets, of course. But we are on the other side of it, and we certainly are looking forward to the warmer days and to be able to get out. I think we're very blessed in Melbourne that we have access to such fabulous parks within such close proximity to our houses. So we've been very lucky to be able to get out and have our 1 hour's worth of exercise. In Melbourne, we're doing a steps challenge as well. So getting competitive even when we're outside of work, which we love.
That's fantastic. And it's great that we've still got, even in this toughest of times, that we still have opportunities to talk to people about. So once again, if somebody wants to get in touch with you and they want to talk about these customer service roles, then how do they do that?
Cool. So there should be a couple of links on the website, but you can contact me directly on 0390987439.
Fabulous.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Jess, all the way from looks like a sunny afternoon there in Melbourne.
Nice. Yeah, going to get out for my 1 hour now.
Fabulous. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Now let's move on then to our final section of today's broadcast. And what we'll be talking about today is something that we will be doing every month from now on, which is our Temp and Contractor of the Month. And Bianca Luck, who is one of our directors in New South Wales and also manager of our temp and contract services here in the Sydney office, is going to take us through the Temp of the Month. So I think, B, you're going to start with how we actually went about this. Is that right?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So before I have the privilege of announcing the Temp of the Month for August, I wanted to walk everyone through the process on how we nominate a temp. It's recently been streamlined, so it's really super easy. So when a client goes in to approve a timesheet, a pop-up box will appear with a hand waving saying, nominate this person for Temp of the Month. So if the client chooses, they will be given prompts to put the temp's name in, the company they're working for, and a little reason, like a snippet of why they are nominating the person. And then it gets reviewed by people to people. So the winners are Auckland. We have Mike Beckham. Brisbane, the winner is Akila Wajasiria. Hope I pronounced that right. Melbourne, we have Danny McCarthy. Parramatta, Kathy Wang. And Sydney, we actually have a tie. So we got joint winners Joe Smith and Alexandra Lomo Melian. So congratulations to all. A gift will be delivered to you guys shortly by your consultant.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous. And this is, I think, the first time that we've had this automation of the actual nomination process, which is great. And I was blown away about how many nominations we actually had.
We got stacks.
Yes, it was. So for those winners out there, so for everybody who did win today, you should be proud of yourself that you actually beat some pretty stiff competition. So I know that there'll be some prizes going out to everybody, and I'm sure that if you're interested, that you should also check out our socials as we get some pictures back of those winners. Do you want to share with us any of the comments that people made, Fee? Or I
actually don't have them here. I'm sorry. Have you got them?
Yeah, I've got a few of them here. So for Alika in Brisbane, our client said we're great to have her in a team. It's just fabulous. And then we have for Danny, I think in Melbourne, it says here, is that right? Have I got my?
Yeah, Danny McCarthy, Melbourne.
Oh no, I'm about to read out Mike's
someone
comments.
else's.
Yeah, I'm about to read out Mike's comments from Auckland, and because it's fabulous. It says, Mike has worked tirelessly over the last month. He's helped our company get back on track with stock and inventory control, including introducing more efficient ways of doing business. He's awesome. So when we get that type of feedback, it's just fabulous. So thank you, Mike. That was a no-brainer. And I think Danny also had he was able to pivot to working from home easily and was one of our most productive employees. So in Melbourne, that's fabulous. And Joe Smith from Sydney, one of our joint winners there, efficient and consistent in achieving deliverables. She's organised and highly flexible to changing business requirements. So congratulations, Joe. And Alexandra, who was also one of our Sydney winners as well. Joanne moved to work from the office for the 2 days to help us and successfully buddied with our new team. So I just wanted to say congratulations again to all of our winners, and look out for if our consultants haven't called you already. you're going to get a call. So I can see that Ali has just said, what a lovely thing to do for all our hardworking temps. That is absolutely right. We've got hundreds and hundreds of people who are working for us at the moment and representing people to people, and it's nice to give something back when we get that type of feedback. So fabulous. Fantastic. Thank you, Bianca. We'll see you in a month's time. I'm going to see him now. I know I'll be talking about that.
I'll be a little bit better prepared.
No, you're fine. And we'll be doing this all again for the winning for September. And if you are a temp that's working out there, then please make sure that you think you're doing a good job, make sure you let your manager know that, hey, how about you nominate me for temp of the month, and we'll give you a shout out as well. Right, and Manda's just said here, they're the backbone of P2P. Absolutely, Manda, they certainly are. They certainly are. So that's it for today, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. Just a quick shout out for next week's Facebook Live, where we will be partnering with the Are You OK Week. So there'll be a special broadcast next week focusing on Are You OK charity and the things that you can do in your business and as part of your day. So look out for that one. Same time, 12:30 on a Friday, and we'll see everybody then. Thank you very much for everybody for joining us.